Thank you for the sweet messages coming in. So yeah, for the sake of the recording, we are recording this metta meditation. We don't always do that, but I thought it would be nice to leave you with a little gift before I gradually disappear into retreat. And I was actually thinking to start my retreat time with a lot of metta practice, maybe a whole month or so. Because metta is really like the foundation for practice. And I was just looking today at the Samaditthi Sutta. It's Majjhima Nikaya number 9. And in there, the first type of right view is actually to be able to practice virtue, to be able to practice right speech, right action, right livelihood, etc., and to hold the precepts, right? To follow the precepts, which are really just a code for living a harmless life. It's just a way of making our action of body and speech and mind as wholesome and as harmless and as gentle as we possibly can, so that beings feel safe around us. People need not feel any threat from us, you know, and also we don't feel threatened within ourselves, right? Because we trust in our own inner virtue. Even though we're not perfect and we make mistakes, we know that our intentions are good. And the next part that is mentioned in right view is actually to see the roots of the wholesome and the roots of the unwholesome. So of course the roots of the unwholesome, I'm sure people here will know. Anyone want to write it in the box? You'll probably be too slow with my to write things down. We'll give you a chance to speak a little bit later today. But basically, the roots of the unwholesome are things like greed, hate, and of course, delusion, which is very difficult to see. If we knew we were deluded, maybe it wouldn't really be delusion, right? At least that much we would be wise. But often we think we're not deluded when in fact we are. But the greed and the hate is a little easier to see. And metta, of course, can help to really undermine, especially the root of hate or aversion, even irritation, or any of these like unpleasant, unwholesome, negative mental states. You know, it can even include things as subtle as boredom or maybe zoning out to run away from things, pushing experiences away. And of course, it can go all the way to violence of body and speech that is actually intended to harm others. And so by practicing metta, we're really working with these roots directly. It's a very powerful practice. And if the roots are pure, if we're actually coming from a place of letting go, non-harm, a place of gentleness, right? A place of loving kindness, then of course our actions of body and speech will follow in that direction. Sometimes the impact of our body and speech may still be harmful. Sometimes we have to just exercise some sensitivity and try to learn a little bit more about skillful speech or skillful ways of relating, especially to people who may be going through things that we can't really understand. But at least our intention is on track. And of course, by practicing metta, we're also practicing right speech within our mind, because usually the way to begin the metta practice is to use some phrases that help to incline the mind in the direction of what it means to, of what metta really means, of how it feels, of how it's actually experienced in the body and the mind. Yeah, so the words are not metta themselves, but the words are already conditioning our mind in a very beautiful, powerful way. And the Buddha says in, I think, the Dvaita Vitakka Sutta, Majjhima 20, or is it 19? I think it's Majjhima 19, that when you have a thought of loving kindness, it's impossible to have a thought of hate at the same time. So it's actually substituting an unwholesome thought for a wholesome thought. And that is a kind of sense restraint. Sense restraint, again, feeds back into virtue. You know, if we have some kind of way of guarding our senses, protecting our mind, protecting, you know, what we put into our mind, yeah, so that we don't kind of carry on looking at things that create a lot of distress if it's leading to more suffering for ourselves, or if it's leading to a feeling of burning out, then it's not really helpful anymore. You know, we have to be wise about how we use our mind. And so this metta practice can also help us to see when we're just going a little bit off course. So just wanted to mention that there's another person from Perth, lovely. that you're here as well, Christina. Great that you could join. And yeah, I don't want to talk too much. I would prefer us to actually get into some metta practice, because it's really the practice that brings about that change of heart. And it's a gradual process. So don't expect results. Don't expect to feel bliss, to feel warmth, to feel all kinds of fuzzy feeling. It may come, it may not, but that is not really your business, you know, because that is nature's business. That's the business of the Dhamma. And all we really have to focus on is putting the causes in place. Results come in their own time. Kalam agameya, let the time ripen. And as the Buddha says, patience is the highest spiritual practice, the highest spiritual austerity. So that means we don't try to cling or kind of search after results. You know, we're just content in this moment to be doing the best we can. So please make yourself as comfortable as you can, especially for metta practice. And that is already giving your mind, giving your body rather, the message that you care. Most of the time we push our body around as though it's our slave, there to serve us, and do whatever the mind wishes from time to time. But now we're going to listen to our body instead. And let our body decide how it wants to sit. Is the sound okay for you? Any problems with the sound? Yeah, good. That's nice for me. I'm speaking quite softly. That's great. And with your eyes closed, you might notice that there are still things you can do to give your body a bit more comfort. Maybe your belt is too tight, or the cushion is pressing into one side of your buttocks. Maybe your knees are feeling unnecessary strain, so just adjust in the beginning. And really take your time. You might find that you are tired and need to lean against a wall or a chair. Let there be no judgment around that. And just connecting to a sense of appreciation. Appreciation towards yourself for offering yourself this time to practice. And perhaps appreciation to one another for coming together to support this. To generate beautiful intentions of love and kindness together collectively and send them out into the world. We have people literally stretching from one side to the next. And we can imagine as we practice that our metta is emanating from us and connecting to everyone else, whether in Perth, in England, in Finland, in where else are we? Germany. Those rays of metta connect. So just coming in contact with your body. And spreading kind awareness through your whole body from head to toes. As though you were a wise spiritual friend regarding your body with kindly eyes. regarding your mind with kindly eyes. Understanding none of this truly belongs to you. Just phenomena arising, changing and passing away. But we have the opportunity to be kind. And as you spread this kind awareness through your body, through your mind, you might notice that your muscles are still holding tightly, or there's some tension that you can just let go of. As though the body were a sponge that had been twisted tightly. And now that sponge is just allowed to expand. So as I said in the beginning, I've been meeting lots of spiritual friends. And that gives me much gladness and joy. So today I'd like to invite you to begin the metta practice by including yourself and a spiritual friend or someone you're close to and care about deeply in a very pure and fairly non-attached way. Someone you just wish to be happy. Maybe your teacher, a good friend, perhaps even a grandchild, a nephew or niece. Someone who, when you're together with them, you have a feeling of gladness and joy. Imagining yourself together with this very dear friend or teacher. Perhaps there's a memory that comes to mind or an image of you both smiling, laughing, feeling relaxed. Perhaps you're just sitting silently, meditating, just enjoying the nature, enjoying the ease. feeling protected and safe, having nothing to defend. And keeping yourself and this person in mind. From deep in your heart, you can use words of loving kindness to gently direct the mind, the heart, to the felt experience of that love. The phrases that I'm often using are, may we be happy. May we be free. May we be healed. May we be at peace. You may choose your own phrases that resonate for you. Perhaps only one phrase or up to 4. And pause in the space between each phrase to allow the mind to incline towards that felt sense of loving kindness. Always staying connected to your body, perhaps to any feelings around the chest, the heart. May we be happy. May we be free. May we be healed. May we be at peace. And see if you can really sense the meaning of each phrase. Repeating it gently, clearly, with sincerity. And as that loving kindness starts to grow in the heart, as your mind settles, you may find you need these phrases less and less. Just allow the metta to take its own path. If you're more visual, the image of yourself and this dear friend or teacher may become predominant. You may imagine you both glowing, smiling, so relaxed. Some people may feel metta as a sensation in the body around the chest or anywhere else in the body. Perhaps a tingling or just a warm glow. And if the mind wanders and you lose connection with the meaning of metta, just gently again bring back words of loving kindness in your heart as an anchor, as a signpost which the mind can incline towards. Now, if you wish, just imagine opening the heart, still include yourself and this person, the loved person, the spiritual friend, but also to welcome in anyone else who comes to mind, particularly anyone who's been a spiritual friend to you on this path. Or anyone else who's dear in your life. Including everyone here in this virtual Zoom room. Bringing us together from all different sides of the globe. For me, I bring to mind all the lay guests at this retreat center in Jhana Grove. Venerable Seni, the other bhikkhuni practicing here. And all the monks at Bodhinyana, just down the road. The bhikkhunis a little further north at Dhammasara Monastery. And all the people in this city who practice virtue and restraint. All beings in your own neighborhood doing their best to live wholesome lives. Those in service professions, the teachers, nurses, care workers, food deliverers, post people, those working on emergency wards, parents doing their best to bring up their children to be responsible, good human beings. Maybe struggling with financial hardship, or a single mom or dad. Just connecting and sharing our metta with all beings in whom we can see qualities to respect. May all beings living virtuous lives be happy. Be free from harm. And this metta spreads even further to those who are living less virtuous lives, still perhaps trying to do their best, but not fortunate enough to receive these teachings or to have good spiritual friends. May they too share our loving kindness equally. May they be free from suffering and harm. May they, like us, be fortunate to hear the teachings of the Buddha. May they associate with the wise. And recognizing that all beings have a mix of virtuous and non-virtuous qualities, including ourselves. So may all beings cultivate the good. Free from greed, from hatred and delusion. May they all experience true happiness and contentment within themselves. Imagining, envisioning a world like this, where all beings abstain from harm, protect and nurture one another. Where all beings know the happiness of peace. May all non-human beings, those we find cute and cuddly, and those we're afraid of as well. May all insects, animals and birds, all creatures of the seas, the rivers, the lakes, the earth and the sky, may they all be happy and safe. May their habitats not be destroyed. And all beings who we do not see with our eyes, perhaps heavenly beings, devas, or other kinds of non-human beings. If they do exist, may they all be well and happy. May they be fully liberated. Just resting in this loving kindness, silently, without words. appreciating whatever peace you experience right now in your heart. And allowing these blessings to wash over and through you to end the meditation. Sabbe sata, sabbe pana, sabbe bhuta, sabbe pugala, sabbe atabhava pariyapana, sabbaitiho, sabbe purisa, sabbe ariya, sabbe anariya, sabbe deva, sabbe manusa, sabbe vinipadika, aveva hontu, abhyapaja hontu, aniga hontu, sukhiyatanam pariharantu, dukkha munjantu, yadalada sampatito, mawe gachantu, kamasaka. So for those who wish and know the big sadhus, we can do those together. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very good. Oh, I wish we had a photo of you all doing that. It's so nice. It's a really nice way to end. Sometimes it gets serious, no? This meditation stuff. But hopefully you have a little bit of peace and uplift in your heart just from coming together and practicing for quite a short time. You know, you can do this on your own anytime. I do think it's quite powerful to practice as a group, but also there's so many teachings out there, and I know many of you have your own practice as well. So even if it can contribute a little bit to that, that's good. And I know that you're very much on the path. So thank you for being here. We still have some time, and really this is supposed to offer a chance for sharing. There may be doubts or questions that you have. There may be things you'd like to share that are related or completely unrelated to this metta practice. Please feel free. I guess we'll continue recording, but only your voice will be heard. If you're not comfortable with that on the recording, you could pop a question into the chat, but it's really helpful. Like, I've taken quite a big stride in putting myself out there publicly. It's still very strange for me, but what I realize is people only come to these things to learn, and people's hearts are incredibly kind and receptive. So if you are brave enough to speak or ask your so-called silly questions, which are probably what everyone has, including myself, either now or previously, then you can raise your virtual hand. So there's a little raise hand button at the bottom, and we would love to hear from you. Otherwise, please feel free to pop any comment, question, complaint, hopefully no complaints, in the box. Oh, great. Would someone like to go to?
Yes, there's Rong Hui. I will ask him to unmute.
Thank you, Venerable Canda. That was great. Really appreciated it. I wanted to ask, you mentioned that Mettā is a form of sense restraint. If you could elaborate on that a little bit more, because I'm just trying to understand. Like in my mind, restraint is not doing something, but Mettā is doing something. So, yeah.
Great point. Great point. Yeah. I often wonder about the translation sense restraint. I actually prefer the translation of guarding the senses, or how else can you say? Like protecting the senses in a way. And so I think there are two kind of ways that can go. One is by not indulging in anything that is harmful for the mind. So quite right, by saying not looking at, I don't know, the advert for whiskey on a big billboard that maybe, if you're not quite strong in that precept, could tempt you to breaking your sila. That could be a form of sense restraint, simply looking away, or just not indulging your thoughts, noticing when they're being pulled in a negative direction and perhaps substituting that with another more positive perception. Maybe, for example, in that case, reminding yourself how wonderful it is to have a clear mind, to have a sober mind, and to be free from those kind of indulgences and addictions that many other people struggle with. That could be a form of sense restraint. Another kind of guarding the senses, I think, is by, it's similar to what I just said. It's not only not going for things that lead to unwholesome states arising, but actually looking at ways we can increase the wholesome states arising. So the Mettā can help to train the mind in advance if you just have a daily Mettā practice. So if you're practicing on the cushion, you're actually reducing the seeds of hate in the heart. So you're much, much less likely to move into any unwholesome state in the first place. But also it can be used as and when maybe a negative thought would arise. For example, a thought of dislike towards somebody or irritation towards a person, feeling like, oh, they say they're a practitioner, but they really should speak more quietly, or whatever it is. And then instead, having a thought of love and kindness at that point. So I understand sense restraint as being very close to the four right efforts, the sixth factor of the Noble Path, Samā Vāyama. And in there, we do have to restrain our mind from allowing unwholesome thoughts or mental states in. If they have come in, we want to do our best to abandon them, but also we want to maintain the wholesome states that are already arisen. So Mettā can help with that, and also cultivate those wholesome states further, bring them to fulfillment, to development, to ripeness, if you like. So Mettā can help with all of this. I just don't think you can really go wrong with love and kindness. Just try to notice if it's getting into too much sentimental attachment to a particular person. So it's kind of helpful to start the practice with a loved person who is more of a spiritual friend, someone you maybe feel gratitude towards, someone you have a very simple and beautiful relationship with, where there's not a lot of complexity or sensuality involved. So I hope that helps a little bit. It's a huge topic, but I think the whole path basically comes together when we fortify each and every aspect of it. So Mettā to me would come definitely in the Samā Vāyama, which is another kind of sense restraint, and also it would come in the right intention, the second factor of the Noble Path. Yeah, and all of that is, of course, based on right view that all beings suffer and recoil from pain. You know, no beings want to be harmed, or if they have enough awareness and intelligence, they don't really want to cause harm to others either, because by doing that, we only harm ourselves. So when we realize this, it's easier to have metta to others as well. So just a few words on that. Sensory strength is a really great topic, and I talked a bit about that in my last Dhamma talk, actually, about guarding the sense doors. You might want to check that out. So we still have time for one more.
I will ask Christina to unmute.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hey, I'm so excited to be joining you today, because I've seen so much of your material online, but because you're in the UK and I'm in Perth, or you're usually in the UK, I'm watching stuff not in real time, and today I feel like I'm finally linked up in real time, so I'm quite excited about that. And thank you very much for the opportunity for us to all link in these ways online. And I just really, I've really enjoyed a lot of the kind of the Dharma teachings and Dharma talks that that you've offered, that have been available online. That, for me, they have a slightly different, I think I'm really appreciating a bhikkhuni, learning from a bhikkhuni. There is a bit of a different flavour that I'm very much appreciating. So thank you very much. Yeah, that was pretty much all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I did get your message, actually. I think you wrote into one of our bookings volunteers. And I have to say, just so that everybody can send you extra metta, I knew that you were really keen to, come to some talks that were in your time. So that was one of the reasons I thought I'll do these teachings just before I enter the retreat. We do normally have a metta session on a Saturday morning, but it's not been very regular of late. But tomorrow we're having the sutta discussion as well at a sort of strange time. It's also, of course, because I can't do it at the normal time. But getting your email was really encouraging, because I thought, oh, somebody's definitely going to benefit from that. So that was really nice. And thanks too for your words about, the Bhikkhuni Sangha teaching. Until now, I've been, obviously I do feel that Bhikkhunis have a lot to offer, but it's hard to notice whether you yourself do. But recently I've been traveling in America and meeting other bhikkhunis, and I agree that there's a difference there. I think one of the differences can sometimes be the connection, the empathy that I feel personally is an important part of compassion and metta, loving kindness. I think it's important to, have that sense of trying to connect with others. And perhaps, I don't know, perhaps we tend to be a little bit more familiar with the emotional world. I just think it's good to have different teachers. You can't always divide it by male and female, and now there are so many different genders, where is the dividing line? But certainly I think, the more we can have different voices, including maybe some of your voices, maybe you can also do things in your own communities, who knows? Then that just reaches more people. So thank you for that. It's encouraging. And I'm very glad that you've been able to come. It's lovely to hear an Aussie accent as well. Because even here, there aren't that many Aussie accents, it's a very international community. So it gives me the feeling, yeah, I'm in Perth. It's great. Okay, we come to Tint quickly, just for the last word before I let you go today.
Good evening, Venerable and everybody.
Hi.
I'm very glad to be here. Venerable, could we have just a very quick and short guidance, just a sort of a 2-in-1 Mettā and meditation from moment to moment, please, Venerable? Because I find it is very useful, and then I can do it as much as I could all day long, as soon as I have a bit of moment. The 2-in-1 guidance for
so you want
Mettā
to know
and
how to,
quick, yeah.
Right. So you want to know how to bring metta into all those spare moments that you have, or whenever you remember, yes? Is that correct?
Yes, please, Venerable, especially while I'm driving.
Okay.
Thank you.
Especially while you're driving, yeah. Well, the main practice while you're driving is to have a lot of metta towards the other cars and the other drivers, and especially any insects or animals on the road.
Yeah.
That might be the best way to practice metta.
I do, yes.
And of course, just to notice in yourself if you're getting impatient or agitated, probably not because you're trying to hurry up, but maybe someone's behind you hurrying you along, and just notice, if that kind of agitation's coming in. And if you can catch it, it usually just relaxes by itself. At that moment, you can just maybe feel your hand on the steering wheel, feel your body, and just, breathe. I wouldn't necessarily advise the actual recitation of metta phrases while you drive, because it might distract you from the task at hand. So in general, I would say just try to bring awareness along with kindness towards anything you do, whether you're doing stuff around the house or, you're walking from A to B. Just try and bring some kindness into your awareness. Whenever we're walking somewhere, we can, if it's safe to do so, if you're on a pavement and it's not too busy, you can, guard your senses. You can have your eyes a little downcast and maybe, just feel into the sensations in your feet. Add kindness to that, use it as an opportunity for just bringing yourself back into the present moment. Another thing that could be helpful is when you are noticing your mind thinking in certain ways, if you see that it's starting to get into a negative loop, you could just perhaps recognize that, accept that, and then remind yourself, oh, perhaps I'm suffering right now. May I be happy? That thought was unkind or unhelpful. May I be happy? Or, if it's a negative thought about someone else, okay, maybe they're not aware of what they're doing. Maybe they don't mean to be so coarse or so hurtful with their speech. May they too learn the Dhamma. May they be happy. May they be well. So we can always have these kind of thoughts from time to time, especially if you notice that your thinking's gone astray in ways that don't help. Bring that in. If you find you have 5 minutes, then, with nothing to do, sit down on a chair and just, again, do a mini version of what we did today. You can spread kind awareness through the body just to center yourself, bring yourself into the moment. And then, if you have time and if someone comes to mind, it might be yourself, you can just recite a few phrases of loving kindness and just make them mean something to you. This is important. So make them specific to yourself, your own situation, but also to that particular person. For example, with Ajahn Brahm, if I say, oh, have a good weekend, Ajahn, he always tells me off because he doesn't want me to say that he should have a good weekend. So what I do now is not really tell me off. I just say, I hope you have whatever kind of weekend you wish to have. And that's really nice. That's really unconditional, isn't it? May you have whatever kind of weekend you wish, and may you be content with that. So there's a few tips. Yeah, no formal metta practice or anapana while driving. Just make whatever you're doing the most important thing, and you can practice loving kindness simply by keeping yourself and other people safe. Yeah, good. Thank you for those wonderful questions and sharings, and it really brings things alive for me. I can feel my happiness level rising with the interaction and the exchange. It's really beautiful. It makes it real, Oh, look, there's a nice cat with Karen. That's very sweet. Sometimes animals come to these sessions too, which is really nice. So I'm going to have to say goodbye so that you can get on with your day. But thank you for all your lovely smiles. It's so nice to see a group of smiling people or peaceful people or people just being exactly who they are. It's wonderful. And tomorrow, there's a sutta discussion group happening at... The clocks change tonight in England, don't they? They go forward tonight, isn't that right, in the morning? So we're only 7 hours behind. So tomorrow... for you, it's at 9:45 in the morning, 9:45 till 11 a.m. I hope that's not too early on a Sunday. It should be okay. I think for me, it's 4:45 till 6 p.m. So I'm glad the Wi-Fi over here is sufficient. And perhaps I'll see some of you then. We also have the same program for the following 2 weekends as well. So Mettā on a Saturday, Sutta discussion on a Sunday. Great. Take care. We normally unmute you now and turn off the recording. So bye-bye.